All right. Welcome everyone to the AMA for the month of September 2018. Get together every month and answer questions from the kin community. This month we're going to try something a little bit different. We got some feedback from the last AMA, and so we thought this month we tried breaking the AMA into two parts. In the first part, we just identified what are the top 3 things that emerged since the last AMA that we can just expect that there will be questions about. And so rather than trying to wonder whether people ask or not ask, let's just ask them of ourselves. So let's start with the 3 biggest topics from the community since the last AMA and answer those. And then we'll go into the second part, which is what we've always done, where I'll answer questions upvoted by the community on our subreddit posts. Now, just a reminder for those, it's 1 question per person. We want to include as many people in this AMA as possible. And also, just a reminder, I don't use these AMAs to make announcements. When we make announcements, we want them to be as big as and impactful as possible. And so while I love this community, I love spending time in this community, this is not the place for us to make announcements. So I won't be making an announcement and I won't be giving new information. But what I will be doing is I'm happy to share my perspectives. Perspectives on the industry, perspectives on tough questions you guys are getting from critics, because I myself get tough questions as well, and I have lots of answers for those. So the degree to which you guys are getting tough questions, I'm happy to answer those so that we can all come up with better questions together. So with that, let's jump right in. So top 3 emerging topics this month were 1, questions around the carry in the developer program, 2, wallet number 4, and then 3, one of the biggest things that I think that emerged this month was Kik getting approved by Apple. So let's take those one at a time. First of all, the developer program and the carry. Many of you have asked, what's up with the carry? We haven't heard much about the carry, and yet it is so foundational to the success of kin. So where are we at with that? In one sentence, the carry was on hold, but we are now in a position to change that. Let me explain. The carry was on hold. Why? What is the carry, first of all? For those that are new and are watching this one, their first AMAs, the carry is an algorithm that looks at the overall kin economy each day and figures out, which app, which developer is creating the most economic activity, which developer is contributing most to the growth to the economy. And once it's done that, it takes this daily payout and splits it up between all these developers proportional to how much they're growing the overall kin economy. That's the fundamentally new business model for developers, and that's what incentivizes the growth as kin as the most used cryptocurrency in the world. Now, how do you make that work? What do you need? Well, before you can look at all the developers, you need developers. You need developers with different types of transactions contributing to this kin economy. But before you have developers, you need a scalable blockchain. It's not enough where if you put 100 or 1,000 users on Ethereum, everything's going to break. No developer would build for that. And if they did, they'd be disappointed, they'd get frustrated, and they'd just give up on the whole thing. So now we are in a position to unpause development of the carry, and that is what we have done. We have a scalable blockchain, our fork of the Stellar blockchain, that can support real mainstream transactions that developers don't need to get frustrated with and give up. And 2, we now have the kin developer program with 40 developers selected out of a pool of 200 applications from 38 different countries who are going to bring that diversity of transactions to the economy. So we can see all sorts of different developers with all sorts of different users using kin in all sorts of different ways. With those 2 things, we are now in a position to unpause development of the carry. We have the scalable blockchain, we have developers that are using it, and soon we will have those apps out in the world. And so while I will not make an announcement today, and I do not have an announcement today, I'm excited in that now, for the first time ever, the launching of the KRE is unblocked. So that's a carry in the developer program. Wallet number 4. If I were to summarize wallet number 4 over the last month, I would use one word, which is painful. painful. Why? Because we have made such amazing progress as a project. And the way I track that progress is I look at CoinMarketCap. I look at what is our ranking on CoinMarketCap, because that removes all the noise of the crypto industry in general and zones in on each project. And I'm looking to see that as an indicator for how much people are realizing within all these projects that Kin is very special and very unique. And people were realizing that we were making amazing progress. We were in the hundreds and the 90s and the 80s, the 70s, 60s, breaking into the 50s. We were on our way. And then what happened? Wallet number 4 started selling a bunch of their Kin. And that, due to the limited volume we have, based on the decision we've made not yet to be on major exchanges, because we, for the most part, for developers, do not need the liquidity yet. Because of that limited liquidity and because of the high volume of selling of wallet number 4, it significantly reduced the value of Kin. And so that was painful. You know, on one side, we're seeing so much amazing progress in the project, and on the other side, the price is going down. And for those who are close to the project, you know why. But for the average person, it just, you know, you can't put 2 and 2 together. And so there must be something else going on. So let me talk about what's going on. So what I can say, what we know. 1, wallet number 4 is a pre-sale investor we have. It's somebody who bought Kin during the pre-sale. For privacy reasons, we can't say who, but it's obviously clear that nobody owns that much Kin other than pre-sale investors. 2, we talk to all of our pre-sale investors. We maintain relationships with them. But when we do, we are very careful. We do our absolute best to not share any non-public information. Why? Because that would be unfair. And so it was a pre-sale investors, and we do talk to our pre-sale investors, but when we do not share, we do our best, we do our absolute best not to share non-public information. And from our analysis, we can't see any indication at this point from our analysis and analysis with different partners, we can't see any indication of any manipulation. So what is going on? We reached out and we asked, and we said, you know, what is going on here? And the answer we got is, listen, this has nothing to do with our excitement in the project or our belief in the project. There are simply business needs we have that require us to sell some of our Kin. And so that's what we know at this point. It was a pre-sale investors. We do our best not to share non-public information with them. We don't see any indication of manipulation, but yes, they are selling, but for what they're telling us, not because of a lack of belief in the project, but because of a business need. And so while it has been incredibly painful to watch this supply come into the market, it's just something we need to work through. And the nice part is we've worked through a bunch of it, and there's only so much left to go before that person will need to, at some point, no longer be able to sell. Wallet number 4. And finally, Kin on iOS. Since the last AMA, Apple approved Kin for the iPhone. And as far as we can find, it's the only app on iPhone where you can both earn and spend a cryptocurrency. And of all the things that happened in the last month, this is one of those things that I am most excited about. Why? We've always talked about Kin. We want Kin to be different. We want it to be the cryptocurrency that is not only speculated on, but is actually used. In fact, we want Kin to be the most used cryptocurrency in the world. And so how we do that and why we do that is because that's what will make Kin valuable. The value of anything is a function of supply and demand. And that's the nice, super innovative thing about the blockchain is you can actually guarantee a fixed supply of a digital asset. Well, supply on one side, we know that's fixed. So then the value of an asset in crypto is only a function of demand. And demand comes from two places. One is speculative demand, and that's the majority of projects we see out there, almost all of them. And the other is real utility demand. People buying it to use it. Consumers buying it to use it where they want to use it. Perhaps brands buying it because they want to pay consumers and hire consumers for their attention or data. But we want Kin, for the first time ever, to be a cryptocurrency that people buy to use. And that would be very hard, or much harder, if we were not on Apple, one of the two dominant mobile operating systems in the world. So for Apple to say, of all the apps and all the cryptocurrency projects, which one are we going to pick first to approve, to earn, and spend? We're going to pick Kin. I think that's a massive step forward and is a huge testament to the team and their hard work and ability to go out and make that happen. Where it goes from here, we don't know. Obviously, we don't control Apple. But as of today, what can we say? Yes, all these projects out there, different projects, but there's only one project in the world where it has an approved app by Apple where you can earn and spend it, and that is Kin. And to me, that feels like a huge step forward. Okay, our top 3 questions. We now move to the second part, which is the open Q&A. Okay. Windows. I'm wondering if that's Win. I haven't seen your name before. You said previously that Kin tokens would be on major exchanges in time for the launch of the carry. Today we have a manual carry for partners, and in a month we'll have 40 apps earning their first Kin grants. Are we finally getting to the point where token liquidity is a priority for you? I will give a short answer to this one. Yes. Next question. In Q4, we're going to have 40 some odd apps from the developer program running isolated Kin economies. This means those apps won't benefit from some of the network effects of cross-app transfers, a key component of the connected Kin ecosystem. So why isn't the identity layer a higher priority? When it comes to prioritizing different pieces of this ecosystem, this economy, it's not a question of if, it is only a question of when. Like with the carry in my one of the top 3 in the opening, the carry only made sense once you had apps, and apps only made sense once you had a blockchain. And we had to do all the work to make those things happen. So it wasn't if, it was only when. And so with the cross app identity, I totally agree with you with the power of having an open, decentralized, and yet secure cross-app identity so that I can earn in one app and then spend it in another. I totally agree with you. The question is only when does that become a top priority, not if it will be a top priority. And it won't be a top priority until people actually want to do that. Where people, this ecosystem is at the point, there's enough developers, enough people earning and spending, and enough people using multiple different apps where they say, no, you don't understand. I've been earning all this in one app and I need to spend it now in this other app. So when that becomes true, this will come to the top of the list. It doesn't mean we're not working on it today. It just means it isn't yet the highest priority thing, but one day it will be. Dylan, your one question. Thank you, Dylan. We're at 2.5 months since the Kin beta launched in Kik. The Kin blockchain has over 300,000 created wallets, and we're pretty sure there aren't 300,000 Kik users with access to the marketplace. So how many Kik users have access to the marketplace today, and why is there such a huge discrepancy? I'm not sure that's true. My understanding is there are roughly something like that, 300,000 Kik users where a wallet has been created for them and where they therefore also have access to the marketplace. So I think that's actually, the question is not true. But maybe, because it's only one question, I will try to decipher your question, which is, of the 300,000 people who have had a wallet created, and of the 300,000 people who have access to the marketplace, why are only so many people actually inside Kik actually using Kik? And the answer to that is because we haven't pushed them to yet. Today, there's only one way to spend inside Kik on the new Kin blockchain, which is on chat themes. Chat themes are something that are important to our audience. When in our research, it's something people want to do and are doing, tens of thousands of people, but it's not something you do every day. You don't redecorate your room every day, you decorate it once and then it's good for a while. And we did this on purpose so that we could test the scalability of the blockchain and make sure things are working and see the edge case. And we've seen some edge cases. We've seen transaction times in some cases grow. We've done fixes to improve those. We've seen Kik users lose their balance. And so we've worked on the new backup and restore. And so why you're seeing today so many users on one side created, which lets us test the blockchain and find these edges, yet so few people using, because the things we have learned, we want to fix before we burn all these users with a mediocre experience. And so once we fix, get the transaction times now, which actually we've done, once we get backup and restore in so Kik users aren't losing their balances, and once we figure out, we roll out this to all Kik users so we can see it once the whole community has it, then you'll see us move beyond chat themes into more daily behaviors that are more at the core of Kik. So it will be step by step. That will take time, but we are making great progress in that. Chase EB finally learned how to say your name. So milestone 1 for the developer program pays out 25 million Kin to fund our economies. At the current price of Kin, that means that a $5 item, virtual product or service, not talking about gift cards, would cost a user 74,500 Kin in our apps. And that means that out of that 25 million Kin, we could only find 130 users with enough Kin to buy a single item at that price. Okay, I think I follow. A large majority of these apps do not have the finance to subsidize the cost of their digital goods or services like the Kin Foundation. This is not a sustainable model, and you can't expect the developer program members to subsidize costs on the assumption that the price of Kin will go up, because nothing is guaranteed. You are absolutely correct. This chicken and the egg scenario is worrisome. If users can't earn enough Kin to spend on anything of value, then what would keep them using an app? In-app microtransactions might work for large established apps because they already have loyal users, but newer apps do not have this luxury. New apps need to sell their users something of value, not merely the unlocking of features. What is your take on this? Because I'm at a loss for how smaller apps are supposed to make this work, because the developer program does not feel like it's currently set up for small, new, or community apps to survive. Edit, many people in the comments seem to think I'm talking from a user's perspective in my question when using fiat comparisons, but I'm talking from a developer's perspective. Which developers do care about the fiat price because that's how they get paid? Totally true. Users will only know the price in Kin, and that's how it should be. Okay. This is a big question with a lot of questions in it. So my only question is where to start. Let's take one question at a time. Do I expect that developers who get Kin for the KRE should be reinvesting that back into their communities? And my answer to that is you can, but the best case scenario is if you don't need to. Any Kin you get as a developer, you should not have to reinvest back into your community. You could, but you should not have to, because that is your financial reward for creating the valuable user experience you did and for getting consumers to use Kin, making Kin the most used cryptocurrency in the world. Okay, so if developers aren't expected to reinvest their carry grants or carry rewards, where does the Kin for their users come from? And I think this is one of the most misunderstood things about Kin out in the industry. And I think this is something that projects that try to copy Kin completely miss, which is that there's no such thing as free money. Okay? You know, when whoever that was said, where does the money come from? The sky? It's like, obviously not. But the fact that you're even asking that leads to that you have a misconception about how Kin works. At the end of the day, everybody needs to, like, all the Kin that goes out there needs to be paid for. You know, we can look at the carry. What is a carry? The price of any asset is a function of supply and demand. Well, the carry, by giving out Kin, is increasing supply. Supply that developers could then go sell, like wallet number 4 did, and drive down the price of the asset. So then how does the carry work? The carry is meant to be a trade-off. The carry is trying to solve the question of how could we figure out where by increasing the supply, X amount, we would more than X amount increase the demand, right? So, you know, a certain amount of supply comes in, but by having that supply come in, there's even more demand. So for that trade-off, there's now some more supply and demand. And so that's how the carry works. It's saying, hey, if we give some supply to developers, they only get it if they create demand with consumers, and the demand they create will be more than the supply, and therefore it will be this amazing network effect. It will be like rocket fuel. Okay, so the carry money doesn't come from the sky. It is an economic equation. But what about for users? What about for users of an app like Kik or any other app in the ecosystem? Who pays for that Kik? And I think there are two options, and we talked about this a little bit before. One is consumers can buy it for themselves. They say, hey, I could go around and do all this work to earn some Kin, but I want a shortcut, and I'm willing to trade my fiat currency to just get the Kin and take that shortcut. Because there's all these things I want to use it for. That creates real demand that no other project in the world has today, demand that we want to create with Kin. I'm buying it to use it as a consumer. But that's hard to set up as a small app. So what are they going to do? That's where I think Kinit is interesting as well. One, as an independent app, but two, also as a layer in this broader ecosystem. Like, what is Kik doing? Kik is saying, hey, we want to get Kin to our users. We don't want them to have to be able to buy it directly yet. But is there some way they could earn it? Do users have something of value that people would pay them for? And the answer is yes. They have their attention and they have their data. So that's why I think Kinit is interesting as well, not just as an app, but as a layer in all the other apps like Kik and other different places to allow users to sell their attention to brands in return for Kik. So I think that's the second big real demand driver is brands buying Kin to hire consumers for their attention and data. And they have to buy Kin because in Kik and all these other places, it's the only way for them to pay consumers to be able to hire them. So I think this is where other little developers will be able to get Kin to their consumers that they don't have to pay for, that they don't have to fund, which is with these jobs which we call, you know, sort of minimum wage jobs in the Kin economy. Hey, if nothing else, you can sell your attention and data to people who want it, and they will pay you in Kin. And that will create real demand, and it allows developers to get their economies up and running and to be able to scale it from there. Now, in terms of from there, there's all sorts of interesting things that could emerge in this ecosystem. You know, I might be a developer with only 1,000 people in my app, but maybe I'm able to get those 1,000 people, a high portion of them earning and spending. So maybe per user, I'm getting a big payout from the KRE. Is there anybody else in the ecosystem that I could go to that also has users, that does have users, and say, listen, You have a lot of users. I have a great way to get those users earning and spending in my app. What if you send me some of your users? I'll get them earning and spending. We'll create real demand. I'll get a bigger payout from the carry, and I'll give you a piece of that carry payout back. This, I think, will be very interesting as well, where it will be economically in everybody's interest to reinforce each other's communities and to all win together and to all compete as one. So I hope I answered at least some of your questions, Chase, but good question. A lot of comments on that question. A lot of comments on that question. Pedantic Justice. Welcome. I don't think I've seen your name before. Hey, Ted. As has been answered previously, the Kin Foundation will be subsidizing the gift card spend opportunity. When the atomic swap goes live and the two pools of kin are connected, how long do you expect to be able to continue doing this? What forecast preparation plans have you made for the point in time the atomic swaps become available in the weeks, months thereafter? Brackets, thanks for these AMAs and your continued engagement with the community. Much appreciated as always. Thank you, Pedantic Justice. See you in the community. Okay. There is no free lunch with kin. You know, you can look at kin and we're saying in Kinit, if I get 500 kin, then I can get a $5 gift card, and therefore 500 kin are worth 500 pennies. And we do that on purpose to set a valuable perception of what kin is. And we think over time, it is our goal. It's our goal for that to be not only true, but more than true, that actually is the true value. Actually, it's actually more valuable than that. That is our goal, okay? But when atomic swaps go live, we can't let everybody go out and convert all their kin into gift cards, because it would, at that exchange rate versus what the real exchange rate is today, it would bankrupt the project, obviously. Okay? So what will we do when atomic swaps go live? Because atomic swaps are a key thing. You need to be able to buy and sell, use and spend, earn and spend kin seamlessly across the entire kin blockchain, which is both Ethereum and our fork of Stellar. So what will happen? 500 kin per gift card is a price that we arbitrarily set. It's no different than any business saying, hey, listen, I'm going to sell this ice cream cone for $1, even though it costs me $2, because it gets people into the store. And if they're in the store, then I think they will create even more valuable than that $1 I had to subsidize up front. And there's a similar thought process with Kinit. You know, by giving them people a $5 gift card, we have to subsidize that. We have to pay for that. They're not paying 500 kin is not equal to $5, so we have to subsidize the rest. But by getting them into the ecosystem, that will create more value over time than that subsidy cost up front. So what will happen when atomic swaps go live? We can't have millions and millions and millions of people going out and getting free gift cards. But so there's one of two options. One is we'll be able to limit per customer. You know, you can only have one ice cream cone per customer. Two is we can change the price of the ice cream cone. Hey, it was $1 yesterday, but now actually we're going to charge $1.50. Or we can keep running the promotion. And so while kin on Ethereum and kin on Stellar will have the same price, a price that will be set by the market, what Kinit then turns around and sells gift cards for could change. So that's how we will do that. Once atomic swaps go live, we will evaluate every day, you know, how do we use gift cards to create the fastest growing ecosystem in Kinit which is one of many things we are doing to grow this overall ecosystem. 2:30, but I will do one more question. Kaiser Oomph. In order for the Kin rewards engine to function as an alternative monetization model, there needs to be liquidity and thus demand. And this part of the puzzle has to come before exchanges, otherwise it will only result in downward movement. Developers need to be able to liquidate for fiat, which not only means that Kin's relationship to it is inevitable, but that a strong Kin to US dollar performance is vital to the design of the model. If Kin is not performing well and does not have constant demand, there is no way for the payout to function as a way to make money. Absolutely correct so far. Considering early users won't be able to buy in to purchase more expensive items, which will be a crux of demand in the future. What are you doing to create the infinite demand and liquidity that will be necessary for this idea to work? Please be as specific as reasonably possible. Let me try to rephrase your question. We talked about the Kin rewards engine earlier. We talked about liquidity earlier. We talked about there's no such thing as free money. So let me tie it back to the Kin reward engine. You are absolutely correct. The Kin reward engine increases supply. Okay. And so if the Kin reward engine pays out a bunch of developers, they then go take all that Kin and they just want to dump it on exchanges for fiat to get dollars. And that if that was all that would happen, the price of Kin would go down. For sure. Simple economics. So what is Kin trying to do? What is Kin trying to do? Kin is trying to say, Kin reward engine, yes, by giving out Kin to developers, we will increase the supply by this much. But for the developers to get that Kin in the first place, they have to create demand from users. And users can get it either by buying it, which, yes, will come later. They can also get it by earning it. This is where brands play an important role in the ecosystem. Brands will say, I'll give dollars to buy Kin because that's the only way to hire people for their attention data in the Kin ecosystem. And so even that in Kin and Kik today increases the demand for Kin. And that is the whole crux of the problem. The crux of the challenge is how to design a system so that an increase in supply creates an even greater increase in demand. And this is something we will have to learn and iterate with as we go, but we are now in a position to put it into market and to start working. But what is definitely true is that it is possible. And how do I know 100% for sure it is possible? It's because Bitcoin has already done it. Bitcoin is doing the exact same thing. They are increasing supply by giving out Bitcoin in the mining reward to the people who secure the network. Because by securing the network, they're creating this digital gold. People are coming in with even greater demand. So even though the Bitcoin mining reward has been paying out tons of Bitcoin, which people can then just sell right away for fiat, the amount of demand that's creating is greater than the amount of supply it's creating, and boom, we get $100 billion asset. The Kin reward engine is trying to do the exact same thing, but instead of for miners securing the network, for developers who are creating real demand. That's where I think this is super exciting. It's not just is there going to be speculative demand, wow, look at this ecosystem growing, no different than Bitcoin and Ethereum. The actual mining reward, the Kin rewards engine inside Kin, is actually paying out based on the actual real demand that developers are creating. And I think that just creates a second, much more powerful network effect And so to your question, the value of kin to US dollars is going to be critically important. I totally agree with you. And that's the whole name of the game, is setting it up. Because what creates value? Demand creates value. More demand for any given amount of supply. And that's what we're doing with kin, is we're not just saying, hey, people getting it to hold it as digital gold, but people getting it to use it across all these digital apps. And oh, by the way, it's also a cryptocurrency no different than Bitcoin. So they can also use it as digital gold too, if they want. And we think that will be able, these two things together, that any cryptocurrency has, the ability to be digital gold, and the thing that no cryptocurrency has, people, millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people actually using it as a medium of exchange, will create something incredibly valuable. So with that, thank you for joining me on this AMA, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.